Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. From the intro, you probably guessed that today I'm working on my mini bonsai. I'm going to be taking a look at each of the trees, see how they're progressing, and do any work that they require. I'm going to start today with this little jade forest. These are cuttings off the large old jade that Connor got, and they were planted by Matt, and today I'm going to have a look at this planting, prune it up, and possibly repot it. I'm having a look at the jade forest. So there's 4 trees in this forest. I think this is the front. It's not the greatest arrangement. I mean, it's okay, but I think I could do better. Possibly arranging the trees into a little more coherent form. Or it's possible I could add some cuttings to the back here. There's kind of an empty space here. And if this is the front, you know, the largest tree is at the back here, which looks a bit funny. If I have this as the front, the largest tree is at the front, but there's a bit of space back here that could be filled in. So I think cuttings is the way to go, just to fill in this back part here. I think the rest of the trees aren't too bad, the arrangement. Especially after I prune them, keeping this as the largest tree and keep the ones on the outside a little smaller. So I'll begin by pruning, and that way I'll get some cuttings. You can see this largest tree, the back branch here is getting taller than these front ones, so I need to prune that back. And I'm just looking for a spot. I think right back to here. So here I go. Big little cut coming up. Just like that. That gets the height down so the front branch is sort of the dominant trunk line. This little branch on this side could be pruned. It's getting a little tall. It's not too bad. Maybe I should leave it. Kind of fill in, get a rounded canopy. I am getting some interference between this tree and the main tree. So to fix that, it does subdivide up here. I really need a branch out the back here. So what I'll do, I'll take the tip off here, and hopefully I'll get a branch coming out the back like that. You can see the fiery red color on those leaves. It's just quite nice. Yeah, that should subdivide and I'll get a branch out the back right there, and I'll place a cutting in there. So that'll give me a 5 tree planting. Okay, like that. So that cutting should grow in the back there. If it doesn't take, I'll try another one, but usually they root quite easily, these little jades. So that's it for this tree. The pot needs a little cleanup, but I'll do that if I ever show these trees again, which I'm sure I will. So that's it for the little jade forest. I think it's looking quite nice, ready to grow for the summer. The next tree I'll work on is my Dwarf Hinoki Cypress here, and it's probably rooted into the sand. Yeah, a little bit. You can see the roots growing out the drainage holes there. Here's a look at my little cypress. So you can see the vigor is in the top of the tree. There's stronger growth up top and the bottom branches are weaker. So I need to prune the top, kind of balance out the vigor on the tree. Very, very fine foliage on it. You need these little sharp, tiny scissors to work on it. You need a good pair of close-up glasses if you need them. So where to prune? Well, any upright growth I can prune back so it's a little flatter. So on this branch, I can prune the tip off here. like that. There's a branch here that's growing a little more upright. Prune that off. Some upright growth in back further down the branch. I can prune that back. Again, kind of flattening out those branches like that. This one, got a bit of upright growth here I can prune. Some here. And this is very fine work. These things are so tiny. Come on, there we go. That flattens that branch out. Here's a tip I can prune off here. Upright kind of tip. Like that. Boy, these things are small. And you just have to look at each branch and check out the structure on it. If there's anything growing back in towards the center of the tree, like there's a branch here, I can prune away. There's an upright one here I can prune back. Like that. Even this little upright one here can be pruned back. If I can get in there. There. I almost got it. There. This branch. So this branch has sort of a horizontal branch, and then it has an upright one. So I can prune back to the more horizontal one. Like that. There's one here growing on the top that's kind of vertical and almost growing back in towards the tree. Just got to get in there. There we go. This one has a lot of upright growth, and I'm just seeing where that's coming off. It's coming off the main branch, which isn't bad. It looks good. There is a branch on the inside here that could be pruned away. Just kind of cleaning out the structure a bit. Once I find where it's growing from. There. Okay. Well, I think that's looking good. I have no complaints. Oh, maybe I do. I have a branch growing in here. Like that. Yeah, I think all is looking good. I'm still maybe a little thick in the apex. Maybe I could do a little more thinning here. Like that. Take this tip off. There's a dead branch here that's a little thick. I'm going to take it back. Like that. Yeah, I think, well, no, I need to do this, thin this branch out. It's a little heavy looking. And this one's coming up. Okay, I think I better leave it at that. That's quite a severe pruning for the tree. Yeah, hopefully these lower branches will get some growth on them. If not, there'll be dead branches at the bottom of the tree. Okay, so that's pruned up. Looks good from all angles. That one is done. These scissors were sent to me by Barb from Michigan, so thanks Barb. They're really good for these trees. So the next tree I'm working on is this Thuja occidentalis. It was started from a seed. And you can see it's growing well. The growth on these cedars, eastern white cedars, is fairly coarse, and you can see, you know, it doesn't really miniaturize a whole lot. It kind of comes in the same size as it would if it was growing in a larger pot. The juvenile growth has these needles. When it starts from a seed, you get these spiky needles on it. And then as it matures a bit, you get more of this scale-like growth here. So you can see the trunk is like very, very thin on it. So what I'm going to do today is just prune these tips. So you can see the branches growing out. So I've got a branch here and here, so I can prune out the middle part like that. Getting the branch more compact, and it subdivides it into from 1 to 2. So any of these vigorous growing tips can be scissor pruned back like that. There's one here I can take back. There's one here. Take back. There's some strong upright ones. I want to keep one as my leader, which is this branch. So this is a branch, so I'll just take the tip off that. Like that. This one is growing vertical, so I don't want that vertical growth, so I'll take it right out. And there's another one growing vertical here that I'm going to take out. I just want my leader to grow vertical. This one is sticking up here. I'll have to prune the tip off. Okay, so that work is finished, kind of cleaning the structure up. So the next operation I want to do is just pinch the tips. So you can see they're a little long, so I'll come in and just pinch them back. And it should create a more compact tree. And hopefully look a little more miniature. At the moment it's not that miniature looking. It's small, but it's not like the foliage hasn't really miniaturized much. So hopefully this tip pinching will help. Maybe I'll pinch it back just a little further. Yeah, I think that's it. So that is it. That is the little Thuja pruned up, pinched back. I wonder, I do have a vertical shoot here that I think needs pruning off. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that is it, pruned up, ready to grow. So there's a little one growing here that just grew from a seed also. So I'll let that develop and we'll get 2 trees in this planting. My goal for these little mini bonsais is not just to keep it as a small tree, but to give it the structure and the appearance of a large tree that's very small. So that's why I'm doing all this pruning today. It's not just to keep it as a small tree in a pot, but to make it look like an actual miniature tree. Next up is my Arizona cypress. This was grown from a seed by Derek, and you can see it really rooted into the wet sand. There's a lot of roots. So again, I'm going to prune it up today. Just cleaning out some dead branches here. Yeah, I'm sure, you know, all these yellow needles will eventually fall off. And hopefully, with all this tip pruning, I'll get some back budding, and then I can bring the tree in a little more compact with the next pruning. But I think that's it for the Arizona cypress. I think it's pruned back, it's ready to develop back buds, and then I can tighten it up a bit more. The next tree is also a jade cutting off of Connor's big old jade. So there's a weed in here I can remove. Like that, getting the roots. And then, can I prune the tree up? I certainly can. So you can see that these two growing tips are quite vigorous. So all I want to do is, again, prune out the growing tip to create subdivision. So I'll come in here and I'll just prune the growing tip away. And I'll do the same on this one. Like that. These ones, they're not that big, but again, I could come in and just prune out the very tip here. Like that. So instead of that branch elongating, it'll subdivide and create more branches. So just pinching out that little growing tip. And I think that's it for that tree. It's looking quite good. The next tree is also a jade. It has quite a root system growing into the sand. And you can see the top of the tree is really vigorous. So this one's growing in one of Isabella's pots. And you can see I have a lot of weeds down below. I've got some grass here I can pull out by the roots. Good. Another weed here. Got that by the roots. Some more weeds in here. That came out with the roots too. If you don't get the roots, it'll regrow usually. Yeah, there's quite a few weeds in here. And pruning these trees, it's always a balance between growth and, and pruning. They have to grow to gain vigor. If you're pruning them all the time, they may weaken. So, you need to let them grow out a bit and then prune them back. Okay, so that's got it weeded. I can see there's a branch down below here that's died off, so I'll prune that away. Like that. There's a branch, this lower branch is quite nice, but there's a branch growing on the inside here that I'm going to prune away. Right here. Like that. So this one, it looks like the growing tip kind of died back, so that should subdivide in the future. This one, it's got some good divisions on it. I'm going to prune away this upright leaf that's a little not so good looking. Yeah, so I've got, you can see my inner nodes, and then it's developed new branches here and then more branches here. So I'll just start by pruning away these growing tips, pruning them back like that. And this one too. This one isn't quite as vigorous, but I'll still prune the growing tip off, and I'll just pinch out the tip of this one or scissor prune it out. So I'm having a look at the design. It's getting a little high here. I wonder if I can prune that back or remove it. I better remove it. It's just getting too tall. I want the canopy up here, not, you know, this will eventually kind of grow into it, but I want it fanning outwards. And here at the apex here I have 3 branches. There's a vertical one, the one coming here, and one fanning outwards. One of those has to come off. I think in this case I'm going to take the vertical one out. So here I go. Big cut coming up. Just like that. Yeah, because this will kind of form the canopy here. And it gets rid of that straight look to the branch by removing the straight part on the end of it. It gets a bit of movement to it. So am I happy with it now? I think so. I think that's about all I can do. There's a dead branch in here I can take out. Yep, I think that's it for that tree. It's looking quite nice. The trunk's getting thicker, it's getting a branch structure and a canopy. Okay, that one's done. The next tree I'll be working on is this Jade. The Jade, it's Tetra something. I always forget the name of it. So it's doing quite well. There's a dead branch I'll just prune off here. A few dead leaves here. So I keep these jades cool over the winter in the basement, and they seem to do really well. I've tried keeping them upstairs in the warm plant room, and they don't do as well. So definitely, they sure don't mind a cool period in the winter, and I think it's better for them. Gives them a bit of a rest. So again, you know, this one I want kind of that dome canopy on it eventually. So I need to prune it, and I'm going to start here to an outward facing leaf to get my branching to go outwards. So I'm always looking for leaves that are fanning outwards, pruning it back. And here, and then these upright ones I can take them back to here and here. So that's definitely, you know, got the canopy down to size. And is that still too tall? That is the question. So if I go any further, if I want to make this even more compact, I've got to go into hard pruning, which they can take. They recover quite quickly, and I think in this case I do. I think it's getting too tall. I don't want it growing into, you know, a large tree. You can see there's a little leaf on this branch. So anything kind of vertical and straight I'm going to prune back. So here, I'll prune back here. These ones, prune this back to here. Back to here, here, and I think I've got to go fairly hard here. There's a node here and one down lower, so I'm going to prune here. Quite a chop on that. I'll get rid of this yellow leaf also. Yeah, quite a chop, but it's brought it down more compact, more the size I want. So yeah, that's it for that Jade. It should recover and grow quite nicely. The next trees I'll work on are my Cumquats. They're at the back here. And they haven't rooted into the sand very much. So here is a look at the first Cumquat. So again, I want to keep this a fairly small tree. So I did an initial pruning here, and it stimulated a lot of branches to grow on the tree. So I've got to take advantage of that back budding and prune the height of the tree down. So I'm looking for a suitable leader I could take it, you know, right back down to here, which would be good if I want to keep the tree small. So I think that's where I'll go. So here I go. I'm going to try it with these scissors. I'm not sure if they'll cut it or not, but we'll see. They are sharp, but this is quite a woody trunk on it. All right, here I go. Big cut coming up. No, it's not going to cut that. I need some real bonsai tools. I'll try my pruners. All right, here I go. Even with these, it's tough to cut. There I go. So the whole top is off of that tree now. So there is a look at what I've got left. And I can clean up that cut a bit. Just make it a little more flush here. I think that's good. I don't want to go too far back. There's a weed in here I can pull out. Got it by the roots. And that's about it. I do have like 3 branches growing from one spot here, but it's definitely got the height down. It's more compact, so I can let it recover and grow. So that's the first of the kumquats pruned back. Quite a big cut. Here is the next of the kumquats, and there's a triple trunk growing in here. So again, I want to take it down in height. I don't want them growing into large trees. That should help it. Hopefully I'll get some more branches forming and I can reduce the height further. Yeah, so that's about all I can do on this triple trunk kumquat here. There's a weed I can pull out there. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, you know, I'll get some more lower branches form and I can prune back the height even further. Another weed here I can pull out. Okay, so that one's done. So I have one more kumquat. These were all given to me by David from the Toronto Bonsai Society. And they were seeds from a famous bonsai artist in Japan. This tree was growing in his backyard, in his garden. So I've done a hard prune here already. Stimulated a lot of branching. Down below I have 2 branches here, so I'm going to prune this one off here to an outward facing leaf. I've got double branches here. There's a weaker one above and a stronger one below. I'm going to prune off the stronger one, keeping my thinner branch. Like that. And then I'm going to take the height of the tree down to these branches. There's a node here, so I'll take it off right here. Like that. And then I'll just prune these branches back also. And that is it for the third and last kumquat. So there's a look at it. A bit of a stick in a pot, but it's staying small. It's getting some branches. The next tree I'm going to prune up is my little Japanese maple. It's kind of got these lacy leaves. Quite a beautiful tree. So you can see the trunk comes out of the soil. It's got quite a curve to it. I'm going to remove an old leaf here so you can see the trunk a bit better. So I've done the first pruning on it here. I cut the leader off and it developed branches, a cluster of branches below. And you can see that if I left that, this would thicken up way too much. So I've got to thin out the branches in this area. Okay, so that's cleaned up. And that's all I can do to this tree now. And it looks, you know, not quite as nice. It's hard pruning away all this nice foliage, but you got to think of the future, keeping it small and miniature. And Yeah, so that's it for the little Japanese maple. It's pruned back, ready to grow. The next trees I'll be working on is my Portulacaria afra forest, and this is the Lilliput variety, which has the little tiny leaves, even smaller than the regular Portulacaria afras. So, this is a forest. I think there's, how many trees are in here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 trees. Bit of an even number, but... So there's a weed here I can pull out. And another weed here. A little weed here. And another one there. And there's a weed here I can pull out. And one back in here. That one broke off. I didn't get the roots. Let me try again. There, I got the roots out. That's good. This tree at the back, I'll prune it back to here. And off of this tree, I have a branch coming out the back that's getting very strong, so I'll prune it back to there. There's a fairly large leaf here I can take off. If I can get in there. There. And I'll take this one off too. Getting a little more light in there. There's an old leaf here I can remove. These are some of the original leaves that were on these trees when I got them. This branch tip could be taken back here. That's getting the forest down to size. It's looking much better. I think this is getting, I've got a vertical leader here on this tree, and this is getting a little long. I'm going to take it back another section to there. Yeah, so I think that's got it pruned up. Oh, there's an old leaf here I can remove. In fact, I can remove a lot of these older leaves. There's one in here. Like here's an older leaf here. It's already got a branch that's formed at the base of it. There's one in here I can remove. One here. Yeah, so that's got that forest cleaned up. It's looking quite nice, quite miniature. I like it. Now, I'm gonna have 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 trees in here, but that's fine. I don't think I can plant another cutting. There's not much room in here. So that one's done. The next tree I'm going to prune up is my Lantana. And I had this as a cascade tree, and the pot tipped over and it broke the cascade branch off. The branches are very brittle on these Lantanas. So they're a good tree for clip and grow, that's for sure. So, what have I got left here? I've got a shoot going up the top here that's getting quite tall. I'm going to prune that one back. Like that. They smell nice, these Lantanas. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I'll just prune this moss back a bit here. Yeah, hopefully there's some good roots growing in here that I can expose later on. But I'll leave the moss thick for now and it'll grow. Kind of a root system there. Okay, I think that's done. I think the Lantana is pruned up, ready to grow once again. The next tree I'm looking at is my little Jade. It's growing in a very small pot. It was started from a leaf cutting and it's growing really well. There's a weed in here I can pull out. Like that. There's an old leaf in here that's turned yellow. I can remove that. There's a yellow leaf here I can pull out, hopefully. There. Just cleaning it up a bit. There's an older leaf down here I can remove. Like that. and one down here. It's getting a bit of a trunk on it now. And I think that's it. I can't do any pruning or anything yet. It's still much too small. But it's healthy and growing in this little tiny pot, and it's looking cool. I like it. Next, I have my winter flowering jasmine here. And I found that if I prune it, that it doesn't grow. So this year I just left it grow, and it's got a lot of long shoots on it. They're not doing really well because it's been so cold out, and you can see it's got a bit of cold damage on it. But it's doing well, so I'm going to weed it. There's a few weeds growing in here. The rest seem to be okay. Yeah, you can see when I prune it, it doesn't really grow that well. I don't know what the secrets are for these to grow them, but I'm just going to let it grow, and then before I bring it in for the winter, I'm going to prune it back. So there's not much work to do on it. I could, clean out the branch structure. There's a dead branch going up the middle here I can prune out. There's a stub here I can prune off. And I'm just looking for structural problems. Maybe, here I've got two branches kind of growing from the same spot here. And I wonder about these lower branches, if I need those at all. They could be pruned away, just keeping this as my trunk line. So I think I'll do that. A bit of pruning here. So I won't be pruning the branches for length, but I am doing the structural pruning. So these two branches can come off. Like that. They're tall, vigorous branches, but I think I need to get a trunk line going on this tree. And then I've got these two branches coming from the same spot here. I've got the two on this side, and then there's an opposite branch here. And these ones are kind of on the inside of the curve of the trunk. So I'm at least going to take out this vigorous one up top here. Like that. And then I better take this one off also. Like that. And that's got, the start of a structure to this tree. Before it was kind of like a bush. Yeah, so I'll just let the rest of it grow for the rest of the summer, and then before I bring it in fall, I'll prune it back. And we'll see what happens. Try that strategy for pruning. Next, I have another little Portulacaria afra Lilliput variety. It's doing well, looking good. So this is just a single tree. So on this one, I'm going to prune it back. I've got leaves here, so I'll prune this branch back to here. This one can be pruned back to here. I'll just prune the tip off this one, like that. There's an old leaf I can take out here. Getting a little more light in there. There's a few older leaves here. I could remove them. These are left over from last summer. There's a big one down here I can prune away. And here. And one here. Thinning out all the older leaves. I think that's good. So yeah, it's pruned up. The growing tip I haven't pruned, and I wonder if I should. It wouldn't hurt to get a bit of subdividing. So off that comes two, and I'll take this back a bit further here to there. and this one. I pruned the tip off, but I think I can take it back another node to there. There's a vertical leaf here I can take out. There, so that's got that tree cleaned up, pruned up, ready to grow once again. Very tiny leaves on these lilliputians, but a nice variety for bonsai. So that one's done. Next, I have more of these lilliput Portulacaria afras. So these were cuttings that I planted kind of in a group in this pot, and they're getting quite large. There's a lot of weeds in here, so I'm going to start by pulling out all these weeds. Okay, yeah, that's better. I can see kind of the trunks now. Maybe a little more here. Yeah, I think that's pruned up now. You can see the trunk lines. The next tree is my little spruce that just grew from a seed in one of my pots. I transplanted it into here, and it's growing really well. It's got all kinds of buds on it, but I can't do any pruning to it yet. It's too young. It's looking good though, so that one I don't have to touch. The next one I do have to touch, it is my privet. And it's growing really tall. I'll show you that. So there's a look at the privet. You can see it's certainly growing tall. So I'll prune that back now. So I've got a lot of good branching down lower, so I'm going to take these tall vertical leaders off. Like that. I've got a strong branch coming from the base of this tree down here. I'll just prune it back, and I think this one, no, it's alive. It's still got some leaves up top, but not doing very well. Not sure the privet likes these small pots. I'll prune this one back, and it may be just that they dry out too fast. Prune this one back. Yeah, I may end up with just a single tree in this pot eventually. I had lots of other ones, but they just kept dying back. I think I'll do that. I'm going to prune this one, kill it off. I think it was dead anyway. It was rotted at the base. And I'll prune this one back. There's some leaves further down. It's kind of long and straight. I think that's about it for that. See how it does. So there's a look at the privet. I think it's a privet, I'm not sure, but it just grew from seeds from somewhere. Next up, I have a little ficus here. I planted this over the winter as a cutting, and it wasn't doing really well in the winter, but now that it's outside, you can see there's new growth coming in on it. This branch didn't make it, it died off. So I'll prune that away. There's no point keeping a dead branch on the tree. So that's gone. There's another little branch that died off here. A couple back here. And the stub of one here. And the apex has a stub here I can prune back. A little cleanup work. There's I think this branch is dead. I'll take it out. So just a little cleanup work on this tree. And hopefully, you know, it'll gain vigor over the summer and become a stronger tree. It did root down into the sand, but not real vigorously yet, so it's still in the recovery phase. There's a scale insect on it here, which isn't helping. So I think I'll spray this with soap and water. Yeah. Give it a spray with the soap and water. And I won't prune it because it's just starting to grow nicely. So I'll just let that recover for the rest of the summer. And I planted another ficus with that one, and here it is here. And it's in the same stage. It's kind of just starting to gain vigor for the summer. I'll also give that a spray with the soap and water just in case there's scale insects on it. And I don't think I can do any pruning on this. All the branches survived. They're just starting to shoot out. So that one doesn't need any work today. I'll put it back here and get out the next trees. So the next tree here is a parrot's beak, or melina, and it defoliated. We got some cold weather and it was in the poly house and it didn't like the cold. So I'm hoping I'll keep it warm now. It's really cold out today. It went down to 9 degrees Celsius last night, or just below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're in a cool period for the spring. So I'm just going to leave it and hopefully it'll leaf out once again. Time will tell on that one. The last trees I have to prune up today are more jades. Yeah, so that's got that pruned up. Just a little pot full of cuttings that maybe someday will become a nice forest. I've got all my trees back on their trays of sand, and I separated my tropical trees into a separate tray here. These are just under trays for bonsai. So I can keep these ones warmer. And I may even separate in future the succulents from the trees like the Hinoki Cypress and the Lantana, ones that need a little more water. So I may separate those two in the future. But yeah, that's something you can do, is have different trays for different types of plants that, have specific requirements for growing. I'll just give you an update on my lithops. They're doing really well. They're split open once again and they're growing, getting too big for the pot now. So I'll have to repot those into a larger pot. I've got a few other trees. Jade gave me this one here, some kind of succulent with like ball-shaped leaves. So I'll have to pot that up in a little bonsai pot, maybe when those ones I made get fired up. And there's another kind of succulent here that I can also pot up in a little pot and prune it up and make it a mini bonsai. So a few trees for the future. I really enjoy growing these little mini bonsai. And if you keep them in the tray of wet sand, they don't take any more watering or care than any of your other bonsai, so they're fairly easy to grow. And especially the succulent ones, they can take drying out, and yeah, you'll have good success with them. So I hope you give it a try. You can have, quite a large collection of very small trees in a windowsill, which is quite nice if you're limited for space. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.